This is the Copperhead Duke Cornell, and it's that time. So maybe take my hand and let's go drinking at Mo.
This is Drinkin at Demos, where we talk about the pros of pro wrestling in the Midwest while sipping on some brews with blessed beers and wrestling. That's my scene. Death matches and lucha libre, it's also mean. I'm a straight up smart goofball, not no kiss ass. I stand tall when it comes to wrestling. I'm the king. I know every move, every fling. Get ready for a wild time with Drinkin at Mo's, where we don't quit. Drinkin at Mo's, that's where it's at. Like a power bomb, we hit hard, never flat. Fucking right, we're living the dream. Talking about wrestling, always a scream.
You know, I've always said here at Drinkinatmos, just because it says drinking at Mo's does not mean it has to be alcoholic. So I'm happy to say Drinking at Mo's is sponsored by Prince Nana Coffee. The exact same guy you see every week on Dynamite, on Collision. Yes, he has his own coffee and it's freaking delicious. They don't even roast those beans until you've placed your order. And you might be telling me, hey, Big Mo, I'm more of a tea guy. They got you covered there too. Use the referral link in the description of this video. And let's get you dancing like Prince Nana with Prince Nana Coffee. All right, everybody, welcome Drinking a Mo's. Big Mo here. You know the drill. YouTube, like, subscribe, share, comment, all that good stuff, because YouTube's algorithm is a pain in the ass. Still is. Damn near what? So many episodes in, I'm almost forgetting the damn number. Anyways, don't forget about the audio platforms too. Today, I'm excited to have with me a good friend of mine, Copperhead Duke Cornell. How you doing?
I'm doing well, about as well as I can be. I feel a little naked without the rest of my beard.
Yeah. I actually got some of mine trimmed yesterday. We had, as of recording yesterday, we had family pictures for my side of things, and wife wanted it all cleaned up and all that good stuff. But yeah, I didn't realize they took off as much, but in the end, my now 7-month-old, if you're holding him and he just it's like Talladega Nights, where there's that interview and he's like, he doesn't know what to do with his hands. That's my son. He'll just like latch on, and then I'll be like, ow.
And they have the best grip in the world at that age.
Oh my God, yeah. He has got one hell of a grip on him, and it's like, God damn, kid.
Yeah, I wish mine was more for picture purposes. It's actually just, it was a blind guy with the clippers, and I was trying to thin it out a little bit, and then, well, it was just best to get the rest of it down. So now I look like either Silas Young's little brother or Brandon Nitro's dad. Somewhere in the middle.
I just had Nitro on not long ago, and that was a fun one. We had a fun little chat. Although I wasn't at the last Magnum show, but I hear there's a little issue with the piggy bank there that was like, oh shit, okay.
Yeah, that dastardly Donnie Pepper Cricket. I call him Walter Saltroach now that he's not a good man. He went ahead and stole the pig. I can't say anything. That's how I got it. But that was however, not a good man now. And I was just really surprised that he put his lips on the pig after Nitro put his member somewhere on the pig.
Yeah, I was gonna say I've seen Nitro's entrances, very high energy, but there is a lot of the his deal with bang energy and a bang, and then it's like his down there. I don't know. I wouldn't be putting my lips down on that thing if I. That's just me though.
Hard to believe. Just a few years ago, he was a mass lunatic running around with me, but now he's out here, energy drinks, vibrant colors, and sticking his thing probably where it shouldn't go. So I guess not much has changed. It's just different colors.
Yeah, no, very true. Now, before we get into too long of a tangent, because Lord knows I do that. First thing I'd like to start off with everybody with is what got you started as a fan, and then what got you deciding to make the leap into the business.
So long, long ago, when I first actually started watching wrestling, it wasn't even because it entertained me. It was because I had a grandpa and cousins that loved wrestling. And I wanted to have something to talk to the cool cousin about. We all know who the cool cousin is. You know what
Oh yeah.
I'm talking about as soon as I say that. So I wanted to sit and talk with the cool cousin, and he was big DX fan. I had no idea what the hell DX was. I thought it was there used to be a pinball game called Revolution X, and that's what I thought he was talking about all the time. And
Oh yeah.
that definitely wasn't it. And so I sat down one Monday and I was watching it, and I was like, this is it. This is what everybody's really talking about. And I was, well, maybe it'll grow on me. Sure enough, it did. And then by the time I was full fledged, I love this stuff. They'd already moved on to the next thing. They were into like Chiefs football. And I was like, oh, well, I guess I could watch football, but I really like this stuff too. And so I jumped in and I really, really just watched it. And it was probably by freshman year in high school where I was like, I think I'm going to make an honest try at this. I just got to wait for the opportunity and, start training, get my body right. Cause I didn't do anything athletic. So now I needed to figure that part out. And after I had moved off to University of Iowa, there was school just 30 minutes away in Wellman with Austin Bayless. And that's just where I started. I started by, when I found it, I talked to him and everything felt good. So we started rolling. And I started by paying for my training by selling my blood. Every broke college kid goes through it. And then I went, gosh, it's not really paying all of my bills to just sell blood and then pay him. And then, I still have rent and groceries and I'm losing weight because I keep selling my blood. So we need to figure something out. And so I won't give out the guy's name. He really helped me out a lot. I ended up going in and gambling quite a bit underage to make sure I could pay for a bunch of my stuff. And I did pretty well. And then when I finally gathered that I'm constantly sick and constantly underweight because I keep selling my blood off and everything was all finally paid off and good to go, that's when I was just really time to take it to and then just keep going.
Oh yeah, you've had quite the career, and we'll go kind of fast forward a little bit and then talk more about the career that you've had. But you've made the decision that this year is the last one. What kind of went about into deciding that? Because everybody has their time when they're like, it's just time.
Well, I look at the landscape of things, and when I got into the scene over with Omaha and then helping build with North Dakota and finally getting up into Minnesota and the big spread that I've had and the impact that it was very brief, but in the Northeast, working with the guys over in Rhode Island and Connecticut, Massachusetts, I moved a needle a little bit, got some attention, and just taking a look at everything. I feel like if I left today, I left wrestling better than I found it. And that's what all of us really, truly want, because a lot of us came into nothing. Like you look at the Omaha area, there wasn't a school. There was seminars every 6 weeks with PWP, and everybody forgot everything by the time they got there. So they were just getting beat up for 4 hours and not really getting better, and there just wasn't the opportunities. But now there's a whole school system put together. There's multiple companies within the area that are drivable. You don't have to go 7 hours to drive another 7 hours. We're in a spot where I've contributed to get Omaha in a positive direction. So if I leave today, I can go knowing that my work was good and I did what I set out to do. The other thing is, it's just at some point, things just feel like time. And I don't know if it's so much with my eye falling apart as often as it is, or nagging injuries, or what the situation might truly be when it comes to physical, what would make me just go, I could miss a weekend and be okay. But I knew when I hit that mindset, I'm taking spots away from guys that really want. And as much as I'm having fun and I'm getting to work with new guys and teach them a lot, I'm having a great time still. I still love this stuff. But at a certain point, it's just, it feels like you got to start backing away.
Oh yeah, no, I can totally understand that because I remember growing up and literally I didn't end up getting my start watching independent wrestling until I was literally in the Navy in San Diego, and I just looked up pro wrestling in San Diego, and then boom, there, there it went. And all then after that, I started hearing about places back in Nebraska where I was like, man, I wish I knew about these before I left if they were even there,
Yeah.
because yeah, I remember I would hear little stuff, but by the time it got around to me, I lived about an hour away from where I do now. So it was like at that time, making that drive was not so great. Now, hell, I've made the drive over to Des Moines for Revolver every so often.
Yeah.
I've actually gotten to know quite a few of the Matthew Palmer's gotten me quite a few interviews with some of his people down in Texas, and Sean T, the ring announcer up there. Now, oh God, I remember, God rest his soul, Mr. Strife. I remember when he would talk about the Magnum spot shows down in different promotions down in Southern California, and how he said that they would at one point just stop getting asked to go because they would be stealing the show. Well, I was actually at a bunch of those, and they did. They did. I'm not even going to lie about it. They did. But that's actually where I got introduced to that man. And then he told me about up here. I'm like, oh shit, when I get back. And then boom, I run into you and Bo and Donnie, even though he's not such a great guy right now, but shit happens. But yeah, it pro wrestling is definitely, especially on the independent scene, grown quite a bit. From the days where when I was growing up and I'd have to drive sometimes, though, at the very least 2 hours one way just to get to anything. And
Yeah.
now, hell, all I got to do is the German American Society is maybe, oh, I'd say 5-10 minutes away from me. So
Yeah. It's definitely been a big scene change, which is great. I mean, there's still, you still do your drives. Wrestling's that beautiful lunacy to where you look at things and go, oh, only 4 hours? Now it's like, I don't know. It's what I've known since I was a kid. Sitting in the car for 4 hours is no big deal. It drives my kids nuts because they're like, gosh, if it's not in 30 minutes, do we have to go? You know what? I'm not going to drag you. I know you guys want to go to see all the stuff down in Oklahoma. I'd like for you to see me wrestle Scotty 2 Hotty too, but man, if 6 hours is going to kill you, and they're like, can we at least sleep or like do anything, literally anything, to not focus on this drive? But me, it's all I've known when I was a kid. As soon as I was 20, I was hopping in cars and just burning highways. My first big out of state booking was in Wisconsin, and I was living in Iowa City, Iowa. So fun story. Brian doesn't know how to read a map, and so he tells me to go meet him an hour and a half west over in Oskaloosa, because he's like, oh, well, we'll go from Oskaloosa and we'll go there. I was like, but the interstate actually cuts through Iowa City, and I could just meet you guys right off the interstate. No, 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 that's not the way we're going to take. I go, so, okay, I'm not going to argue with him. I jump in, drive all the way to Oskaloosa, and then we hop in with Big Sean Nautilus. Shout out to Gator. And we drive right by my apartment all the way.
Oh, jeez.
We take that east, and then we cut north, and I'm glaring at Brian's bald head, and I'm like, you We just drove right by where I live, right where I live. So we didn't really leave him much to directions. We just let him drive because he's just kind of the Terminator. We plugged him in and let him go. But as far as like directions, it was up to someone else.
Oh yeah, and I mean the GPS services are definitely a little more plentiful now than, good Lord, back when, hell, when I said I got my start watching independent wrestling, I was still having to print off MapQuest directions.
Yeah, we were just up with the times, and we had a TomTom.
I had to go get one of those in San Diego partway through because I'm like, okay, I need something better than having to go to the rec center on base and printing off MapQuest shit for
Going 80 and trying to read a novel of directions doesn't seem like a great idea.
Yeah, especially when California and they have. We think that there's a lot of those traffic camera deals where it catches you going through it. Oh man, I've seen it where somebody hasn't even gone through the damn light, and all of a sudden, boop, in California. So,
jeez, they'll grab you.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be funny enough for me down there. The one of the main shows I'd go to was up in Oceanside, which was like 30, 45 minutes away, and I'd laugh because people would tell me, "Oh man, that's such a far drive," and I'm like, "Really? That's a far drive?"
Yeah. Yeah, that was the thing that I run into in Rhode Island a lot when I was going off for shows, and guys were like, "Gosh, it's more than an hour," and I was like, "Bro, it's only an hour. What are we doing? Let's keep rolling.
Freaking go, yeah.
Let's just do this." And it was like where I was staying over in Coventry, Providence was all of 45 minutes, and that's just right where the school was over by. Oh gosh, I can never say the towns right, but Pawtucket and Narragansett and God, there was one more over that way. But yeah, it was all 45 minutes away just to go do these things from where I was. And everyone's belly aching about 30 minutes. I'm like, are you kidding? You would fight for this over where I'm from. You can't throw a rock without hitting 4 promoters on the East Coast. So I was more excited to make these hauls. I was whistling the whole time. I was like, I don't know what I'm going to only do for 45 minutes. And there's just guys that are like, oh, traffic was so terrible. I even got another fun story. Even got caught in a parade route and became part of a parade and still made it to a show in time. So it was right before we were going to move back. We got caught right in the middle of a Christmas parade, and I made one wrong turn because they didn't mark off the parade route. Well, girl I was with wanted to get Dunkin' because she was like, "Well, I'm going to be there for a while. I need to get some coffee." And they live off of Dunkin' over there, and so go get her a coffee. Whenever I make a wrong turn because they hadn't blocked the road off yet, we're now on the parade route, and it's not like we have a festive car. It was a GMC Acadia, and we didn't have any signs. We didn't have candy. We're just sitting there, just trying to get through this parade. We're sitting there for an hour trying to get through this parade, and I still made it before some people. And I was like, this is so wild. This is truly wild. But it's fun to hear where people go like, oh man, it's more than 30 minutes. Do I really need to go? And then there's lunatics like me to go 6 hours. Well, I mean, you're up early.
Yeah, and then okay, so you've done that over there, and also I've talked with a few different people, and you've come up where we talk about people that we consider the term is often used like a measuring stick in whatever area. Like if you go up against them and you get their nod, then it's like, okay, and you often come up for a measuring stick here in like the Midwest, Nebraska, Iowa, up into the Dakotas, Wisconsin, all of that, because the quality of stuff that you've done throughout your career, and you've been a part of some memorable groups, like hell, when I met you, and a lot of what people, at least here in Omaha, will definitely remember you for is all the time with guns and beer. Like I latched onto you guys real quick because I mean, hell, I'm on my second one right now, but you guys just latched onto me, and I know. Uh, I think I've told you about this before, where when it comes to something that is a definite issue with the veterans coming home from their enlistments is, and something that I struggled with was finding that something to feel like you belonged with whatever crowd, because when you're in the military, you're, especially the Navy, and even more so, especially on a smaller ship like I was on the destroyer, you have that group. Like you are like your friends that you develop are all right there. And then when you leave and when everybody else leaves and you spread out, it's like all over, you know, both coasts, sometimes other sides of the world. And you guys definitely helped me through a lot, I will definitely say, in those early times, because yeah, my first little bit coming back home was not pleasant. So to be able to, have that escape at the shows and have you guys, treat me as kindly as you did, that's one thing as a fan and a friend I'll never forget. But what are some of the, going down memory lane here, what are some of the memories that you guys have from, the guns and beer days? Because I know that I have one that jumps out at me to the top of my head, and I'll go ahead and mention it because it involves another podcast that I was just thinking I was just going to come and sit off to the side and, just listen, because, hearing you guys tell stories about, going down the roads and stuff, that was always a fun time. And then I got waved in to sit in on it, and oh God, somebody mentioned a certain sort of waterfall. And then I said, yeah, that's a waterfall I wouldn't mind chasing. And like we had to stop recording for a little bit.
Yeah, that was the one with Lawyer Dog too, I think.
Oh yeah, Lawyer Dog. Yeah, that was
Lawyer Dog
was
the
other part of that. Yeah. What are some memories that you have? Because you guys, traveled up and down the roads quite a bit and together, and covered quite a bit of territory. And there's like a few different variations from you and Bo to throwing Joey in there and Gator and Moonshine, and it was like I said, lots of different variations of the group.
Yeah, I don't remember all of who we had ended up bringing in, but we started becoming the Dudleys of Omaha at a certain point.
In a way, yeah.
So there was those four. It was us. Brian and I started it off. Then we threw in Joe, and then we had Gator, and then we had Jebediah Jacobs for a hot minute, and then Old Mill Marcus. We had next door Nikki. She was our next door neighbors.
Yeah, I remember.
She's great. Shout out to her if she's probably not watching this, but hi. Good to talk to you again. And then I feel like we had just a bunch of one-offs in there at some point. But we had Kara for a while. Shelly was there. Yeah, it was. I mean, we had a great time with it. As far as stories, like most of them are just it's random shit that we came up with. There was one road trip where I think we're outside the state, the statute of limitations with the state of Missouri. we had passed by a construction site, and it was just road construction. It was not like we broke into anywhere. We just pull up to a stop sign, and there's a bucket full of cement with a giant 2 meter, 6 foot stick in it. And so we've just been driving for hours and we were bored. So we grabbed it and then we put it in the front seat, named him Bucky, and took him on the road with us. And we purposely wouldn't take young boys with us so we could travel with Bucky. I actually lost Bucky in the divorce. It was kind of sad. I got to keep a lot of things, but I lost the dog and I lost Bucky.
Oh, damn it.
Yeah. So what do you do?
Yeah.
But there's that. Random stuff like with Lawyer Dog and the waterfall. We had this dumb thing, and we still talk about it. Pie insurance. It was 4 a.m, and we were driving past a fireworks stand in Missouri. There was a summer where we did about 7 weeks in Missouri. It was kind of crazy, and it's just 4 a.m. One of us just looked at the other one and said, "You know what? The most useless thing we could do is start a pie insurance business." And we start talking about that and coming up with premiums and deductibles and all this shit for pie. And now we just throw it out here as just a random ass reference in group text where it's, well, more of my grandchildren are financially bankrupt from this pie insurance. No one's going to recover from this at all. Dumb stuff like that. I remember Joey screaming at Sean for about 30 miles on the stretch of highway in Missouri. We were in a car, and well, obviously, but we were driving back from a show, and Sean had jumped up from the back seat, and he goes, "Oh, Jesus Christ! You hear about Governor Branstad? He just got tased in Texas," because he's reading news on his phone. And Joey's got a million questions because he's wondering why Governor Branstad is in Texas and what would lead him to get tased. And come to find out, Sean's not a strong reader, and the word was bystander. And so Joe is now running him down for about 30 miles about how stupid he is and how much he can't read. And he would microwave black beans thinking it's supposed to be popcorn because he can't read. And
oh God.
I've never laughed that hard since. I was crying for about 2 hours after this whole diatribe. It was bad. We about went in a ditch several times because I was laughing too hard. But just the dumb things that we came up with just to entertain ourselves. That's really, I mean, we've had great matches. I met a lot of great guys, Viking War Party, Hooligan.
Oh, yeah.
Throwbacks. I mean, not any wrestling fan now has no idea who the hell I'm talking about. But matches with them that really made us. And we got a really good shot with bigger companies after wrestling with those guys. Yeah, I mean, all the trips to North Dakota with all the random shit that we would come up with. Yeah, it's really, as great as the matches are, and we can look back on them and laugh. It's really all the time in between those 15 minutes that really mattered the most to us, and that's all I'm going to remember is just those kind of things.
Oh yeah, and I remember another one now that I've told a few people about this, but the one time I actually got to go up to Fully Loaded up in North Dakota, and I remember the now Ruby Soho was there, and I remember the after party, and I have to be kind of hammered to get up for karaoke. Like a little liquid encouragement, to say the least. But I remember just like I was completely too plastered by this time, but I remember hearing a song and just walking up to see what the lyrics were so I could tell what the song was. Before I know it, somebody's shoving a microphone in my face, and I'm drunkenly singing, I believe it was She Hates Me by Puddle of Mud.
I know that was one of them. And then there was Song of the South from Alabama. That was a big one that we always sang too.
Yeah. And I was just like, I just remember thinking back on it. I'm like, oh, geez, I made an ass of myself in front of Ruby Soho. Even though I I'm sure she probably doesn't even remember who the fuck I am.
She was rolling around with Eric Cannon. She's used to people making an ass of themselves.
You know what? Yeah, they were. I remember their match the first night was actually the two of them versus Viking War Party. I remember that. And I just remember, for those that might need a little, reference into Viking War Party, they'll definitely remember Warhorse.
Yep.
He was one of them.
Yep. And then Herzog and Wyatt. Frank Wyatt.
Yep. Hell of a group. And another group that you are a part of, believe, and I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it was mostly Nebraska, Iowa, and maybe up into the Dakotas, the Snake Pit.
Yep.
And I remember talking with Nitro and saying that his look around that time reminded me of like the original Wyatt family. I'm like, you would have fit in right with those guys right there.
Yeah, he did have a really long prisoner beard.
That he did. Like I got a story involving a Wyatt family member that ties into a past guest of mine that I'll go into later because I got a whole category built around that. But the Snake Pit, relatively, beer drinker, but much like my Dr. Pepper, it gives me the burps like crazy. A little bit shorter lived of a group. I mean, in comparison to Guns and Beer.
Oh yeah, it definitely didn't have as much legs, no pun intended, as Guns and Beer did. That one was really designed. So with all my travels, there's a lot of younger guys that they're kind of lower down the card and they weren't really given much opportunities. And then I kind of waltz in and I'm handed, hey, you want to be part of this championship match? How about you want to challenge here? What do you feel about a main event on this one? And I was grateful because I was on a roll. I was really, I mean, I still am good, but like I was really, really cooking. And I was just like, there's this guy over here who's in really good shape that worked with Lance Storm. Where's his opportunity? And then there's guys like Seto. That first one was Rich Maxwell, if no one got the reference. Yeah. But then there's guys like Seto, where it's like he's been showing up every day for years, and no one has given him more than the prelims, and he should be on the show. Like, look at him; he's he's in great shape. And then there's Nitro, whereas he just needs a little bit of something, a little gas to keep rolling. And then really early on, there was a guy. We were renaming him Calf Zeal, but Jay Howard. He's just kind of a hidden gem in Missouri, and I always liked the style. I thought he was very aggressive. I thought he could have really been a standout, and we got everything built around to have him come in, and he was there for the initial promo, and then we never heard from him or seen him again. Like, he just disappeared into the woods after eating some bad mushrooms. I don't know. But the pit was really built around the idea that there's an established guy, and he's surrounding himself with younger talent to almost be not so much the learning tree gimmick that's running around, but more of an all father, to where it's, listen, I'm not going to be around forever, but my knowledge will be, and I want to get these guys into a spot where they can excel. And it's panned out great for all of them. I mean, Rich, they don't talk about it enough, but he won the Dusty Rhodes deal in Atlanta, and he's got the big glass boot, and I mean, he impressed Dr. Tom and Les Thatcher, and it's, he got a handshake with old Cody Rhodes, and no one can take that away from him. I mean, a lot of people don't acknowledge it, but they can't take it away from him. Like, he's really stood out, and he's been head and shoulders above, and he's been a standout pretty well everywhere he goes. I know in Minnesota he's making a lot of noise. In North Dakota, when he was working for Midwest All Pro, he was on top there for a long time. And then same with Seto. Once him and I started tagging regularly, it started to click a lot for him, because he would watch me wrestle from the corner, and then the next week when we had a tag match, he did all of the things that I did, and then I had to do something different to teach him something different, and because we can't have the same match all the time. So I'm teaching myself stuff on the fly, and he's learning stuff in the office, and a lot of things really started to click for him. He became a very big standout performer, and Nitro, I think he was going to find his own way. But it definitely didn't hurt to get saddled in with some experienced guys, and that had was that is I had experience, I had connections, I had a way to keep things moving for him and get him some opportunities that he just might not have got if he was just another guy out of South Dakota.
Oh yeah, and
I can't help he's lost in the woods somewhere. But
that reminded me of like, oh God, some of the early days of what was it? Randy Orton's group with Cody Rhodes, Legacy or whatever it was. They had a fourth guy that was around for like very short amount of time and then just gone.
Yeah, Manu was like that random one, and he's just gone. They just hit him with that RKO and like three's enough. It's like, all right, well, it works.
Yeah, and oh man. Cody Rhodes, he is one guy that like there's a few people that like on the national scale, if I could get them on, that it'd be like, okay, there's not much more I can do with the show and top that, because it's always like I joke, but I'm serious. It's Stone Cold, my all-time favorite. If I were to ever get him on, it's like, okay, just stop it right there.
Back it up.
Cody Rhodes, definitely right up there, but I want to meet him because it's a little more personal of a story, because when they released the documentary on him shortly after he came back, and he was going over the time that his father was on his deathbed, basically. And he was mentioning about, it not being like in the movies where it's all like fast and like, ooh, they're gone. And talked about, going through the hospital and almost memorizing the floor plan with as the amount of time you spent there. Pulling back the curtain on me more today than I might normally, but today, as of this recording, would have been my girl's 3rd birthday. My wife and I were pregnant with twin girls back in 22, and they weren't due until November, but they, today. And I remember sparing my PTO because I'm like, you know what? I could not think of any other alternative than those girls were coming home. And I kid you not, to this day, I could probably drive right to the hospital, walk right to where their NICU rooms were without even a second guess about it. But that part really hit home to me in that documentary, because I'm like, as he was talking about, I'm like, yeah, I lived that for about a week. So hopefully, I've had people that have tuned in to episodes that I wouldn't have thought about actually tuning in before. So, who knows? Maybe we'll end up making that one happen. But like I said, tangents, they happen. But yeah, today is a little bit of one of those bittersweet days for me, for sure. But we'll move on. I want to talk about, for the listeners here in the Omaha area, Magnum Wrestling, you've pretty much been there from the beginning. You've pretty much done it all, really. I think, now that I think about it, I think the Top Gun title is really the only thing you haven't won.
Yeah. It was in the first main event of the first show. It was Eric Cannon and I. I know Fowler likes to brag that he was in the first match of the first show. Fun fact: he lost that match. And yeah, I was in the first Magnum Pro Championship match against Gunner Franks. Shout out Gunner, miss you, buddy. He's still with us. He's just lazy. This is the first Magnum Pro Tag Team title match. I was in the first. They don't run it anymore, but that Battle Royale Cup tournament for that. I was in the first Over the Top. You know, I got to do it all. I've really been. It has been since day one. And there was even just a couple off. I wouldn't say offshoots, but there's in the beginning when Nate was really trying to find his footing with what he wanted to do with Magnum. He had a couple where it was he booked the day before PWP because he really wanted his friends to just have opportunities. So you know, there wasn't that many people that showed up to the Armory, and that's all right. That's kind of what some of this stuff is. And there was a few shows, and then he was like, "Screw it, I can't sell any tickets. Forget it. I'm just not even worth it." And then a day and a half later, all right, Bubba, what do you think about this? And then we were back at it. And so then it was the next show was lined up. He took a couple months to promote it, and you know everything felt better, and it's just been off to the races since.
Oh yeah, they definitely. I believe I have been to the only venue I can think of that Magnum has ran in the area that I haven't been to was the one they've ran the last couple of weekend at Strife's at. For some reason, I've ended up having a prior commitment that I wasn't able to make it. But man, from not only there with the production value that they put in there, you know, you go German American Society and a few of the other venues, the production value at Magnum is really second to none in the area.
It really is. It's come a long way from when everything started. I remember there's guys running around with GoPros, and we were just trying to hatchet job what we could, and then one hard cam that might have been on, might not have been on, and then we could audio to line up, and then you know wherever we ended up was where we ended up. And there's some footage where Strife just said, "Forget it, I'm not posting it because this sucks." So we ran into that, but then after it was a couple years in, he got lined up with some production guys. I know Logan was part of that crew, and everything really got better, and it started to look like an actual wrestling show. Not that the boys weren't working hard, not that we weren't breaking our bodies down for people to come back, but it's easier to hand someone a Christmas present when there's wrapping in a bow as opposed to a wet box and told them it's not a dead puppy in there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and it wasn't a dead puppy. It was something really good, but it's really hard to sell someone on it. So then we started getting the actual presentation with it, and then it's only escalated since. We've got a lot more guys on the production team now. We got a lot more guys involved. You know, we're doing different stuff. I know Joey has got his hands in the pot there when it comes with production, and as dedicated and devoted as he is to wrestling, he's always going to give 100%. No matter what field of it he's in.
Oh, yeah.
Whether it's, you know, he's going to bleed everywhere for you guys, or he's going to make sure that you have something quality to watch that's 90 seconds or less so you don't lose your attention. He's going to give you everything that he can, and he's going to do it to the best of his abilities. There's no half-ass in the guy.
Oh, yeah. Definitely. He runs 100% all the time. And, you know, going into, like, current stuff like this, the deal he has going on with Jeremy, man, he's got a whole level of intensity right now that I don't think that I've seen since, you know, he's doing a great thing with trying to, you know, sobriety and everything. So, I mean, I salute that. I still drink myself, but for those, I've had plenty of people on that for one reason or another, they make that decision not to, and that's fine. Yeah. Like hell, Jake Chris, shortly after he did the whole burning of the IWA Mid-South belt, we had a whole talk on his episode about it. But Joey, I've got nothing but love and respect for him, and hell, he's got his hats all sorts of places, as you mentioned, and always gives 100%. And I can't wait to see where this thing with Jeremy and his group goes, because it just seems like every time Jeremy thinks that he's got it figured out, Joey's just one step ahead of him.
Yeah, yeah. Joe is he's played the game. He knows exactly what chess pieces are being moved before anyone moves anything. So it's not a surprise to see him ahead of everybody. Uh, this is his game, and it's just a matter of how fast you want to lose.
Oh yeah. And so I'm definitely curious to see how this all turns out. And the thing that you got going on recently is, I like to talk it like we talked a lot about, some of the younger talent throughout your career, and, towards winding things down, you're in a way kind of giving some of the younger guys the air quotes rub, where, they're getting the benefit of being in there with, I talked about you as a measuring stick. Well, they're getting the rub of being in there with the measuring stick of the damn area. And, I know, oh God, you've had somebody try to jump the line and get another match. I know that came up relatively recently.
Yep, with Jackson King, I've heard a lot of good praise about him. I hear that he's coming along. I hear that he's really sharpening his tools. And when we were in there, he did fine.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that he did anything wrong. I'm not saying there's things he could have done better, but he did fine. He's right where he should be. But I've dialed back on all the mind games. I'm not the area Jake Roberts anymore. I'm trying to give these kids something to learn from, some other way to shoot the angle, so to speak. There was a long time ago, got to pick Jamie Noble's brain, and he said, "Do things but different," and it's the most blank sentence you could ever get. But then he sat down and explained it to me what the hell he was even talking about, and it's changed the game for me a lot, and that's why everything's been different for the last 16 years of what I could do. So to sit and hear that and then to just pass this on to other guys, that's what I want to do. I want to give them the chance to look at this different, because wrestling, I know you've heard that it's like ice cream. It's all different flavors. It's a kaleidoscope, because if you twist it just a little bit, you have a different picture. And that's what my job is right now, is I want to be able to adjust the kaleidoscope for them so they can see a little bit different of the picture. And Jackson just thinks that he has the answer to beat me. And there's more to this game than the win and the loss. It's everything in between and what you do with it. He's taken some shortcuts. He's said some personally blasphemous things that no one in 16 years would have ever thought to say to me. Not even when I was just a young, dumb kid showing up and setting up rings. No one would have talked to me like that. Not that I scared anybody, but I earned respect as quick as I could. And to have this now, at this point, to just try and see how far he can get under my skin. And then having taken me out of the Magnum tournament. So now, mathematically, I can't win the Magnum championship before I go. I don't have a shot unless I win it over the top. And that's me against the world, all in one run. I only had to get through 4 guys. Now I got to get through 30, 40 guys. Mathematically, I've been eliminated, and I don't get to go out the way I want to. So now we do have a problem, because I tried to do this the good way. I tried to give back. I tried to give opportunities for young guys, and then I have one mealy mouth little shit that just won't get out of his own way, and maybe I need to get him out of his way for him. And it's not going to be fun for him. I'm going to have the time of my life, because I'm going to absolutely But maybe that's what he needs. This whole time, I thought he needed a match with an experienced guy to look at holes in the game, but all he wanted to see was that he could beat me, and that's not what this is. So I'm just gonna have to beat him again, and maybe this time there's a lesson at the end.
Maybe we'll see. I know I look forward to it. I love the intensity, and I've been lucky enough with the podcast so far to get to uh, indulge my fandom of deathmatch wrestling and getting to have some great talent from the world of deathmatch wrestling on, including, I got items from a few of them. I got a signed ring worn kick pads from Alex Cologne, which that one was one of my earlier ones where like I was still in the thought process of, man, is this name that's like been there, done that in the world of deathmatch wrestling? Is he really going to want to do my little show at the time? Boom, we did it, and now I got that. My one of my personal favorites, and he sent me this. John Wayne Murdoch had him on, and I've actually had him on twice now. Where I remember the last time I had him on, I got one of the biggest senses of validation that I believe I've probably ever had so far when he told me he doesn't do too many podcasts anymore, but he'll do mine. And I'm like, holy crap, I must be doing something right, because somebody that I've admired to that level is saying that about me. I'm like, okay, I'm doing something right here.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
you've
It's
actually dabbled in, you've done some in the deathmatch world yourself. I know I've ran into you. I mean, they don't run anymore, but Mid Death Pro, we ran into each other there, and I know I've seen advertisements for you at some other deathmatch places.
Yeah, so mid death was really where I did most of it. Otherwise, Time Bomb was
Time on.
starting spot for me when it came to the no ring death matches. Um, but yeah, those two, Wrestle Verite out of Minnesota. I was going to be a part of their tournament, but I had travel issues, and then it was, well, I got a car that's at least going to Magnum, so we probably better make this one work. And unfortunately, I couldn't attend the tournament. I was really looking forward to it. But I do have another one coming up with them here next month. So we'll be getting back in there and doing Bleedy Boy business. But yeah, it was death matching was never really a thing that ever crossed my mind, which is crazy because I'm a huge Terry Funk fan. I would have thought that was the first thing I wanted to do was just light someone on fire and bleed. But after I got into it, and I never had any doubts, but after I got into it and I started talking with a lot of the guys and running around in circles with them, deathmatch guys are some of the sweetest people on the planet.
Oh, totally.
There's Dmitry Alexandrov.
Yep, I've had him on. Yeah,
Out of Texas. I love me that Russian bear, or the bear fighter, I should say. I didn't call him a bear. Don't Alexandra. Don't you didn't pay attention to that, Dmitry. But there's him, and then Wesley Crane. He does a lot of the Bleedy Boy business out of Oklahoma. Tommy Dean. They're great guys. I catch up with them every chance I can. When I broke in, rest his soul, Marcus Crane. I met him on my third ever show, and he was just one of my closest friends forever. I remember I want to say it was 2016. It was Joey and I, we just got booked at Freelance. So just down in Chicago. It was in February, and there was the middle of a blizzard. And we're like, God, I don't even know if we're going to get out of this town tonight. We're getting ready. These double doors just throw right open in Logan, in the Logan Square. And it's Marcus in this giant fur coat, no shirt, a cowboy hat, jeans. And he said he walked across town because he heard his Guns and Beer Boys were in town. And I was like, absolute lunatic. But that was my guy. And even when I was in the Northeast, he was over in Jersey when I was in Rhode Island.
Jersey for I believe I mean, I don't believe they run there anymore. I believe they're moving to Tennessee, but Tremont's promotion.
Yeah, so he was actually staying with Tremont and starting to train after he had his surgeries to kind of get back into the rhythm of everything. And we had talked, and he had found out I was in Rhode Island, and I still have the text. I refused to get rid of it. To where he goes, "Dude, I thought Rhode Island was made just for Family Guy. It's a real state." Yeah, yeah, it is. It's really here. And he's like, "Well, you're only like 3 hours from me. Why don't we hang out?" And we always plan to, and we never were able to really make it work out. And then I moved back the week before he passed in Illinois. And no, it was just days before, because he passed away on the 26th of December, right before my daughter's birthday. And I got the news on my daughter's birthday, and it was like, oh no, this is the best and worst day of my life.
Yeah.
Then I learned the next year, and I was kind of relieved in a selfish way to where he didn't pass away on my daughter's birthday. But I knew he loved death matching, and I watched him in the first ever Prince of the Death with IWA Mid South. And I know how excited he was, because he was setting up, tearing down, doing all kinds of multi-mans, taking dumb bumps, trying to get Ian to put him in any kind of a deathmatch situation. And then he created this tournament, and Brian was on it. And I didn't, it wasn't really my cup of tea to watch it. But then after I learned the art of it, it became fascinating. And to watch Mark grow and thrive and randomly run into him at GCW in Tennessee, I had no idea he was going to be there. But we ran into each other, and it was great. Deathmatch guys are some of the sweetest on the planet.
Oh yeah.
Just, to have that be one of my best friends and be a Terry Funk fan, and then to never think that I was going to deathmatch. Super naive of me. But once I got into it and I understood what I was really trying to do with it, and it's great.
Oh yeah. When I've had the talk with a bunch of the guys from Tremont's promotion before the hiatus, and outside of that, where deathmatch wrestling, when it's done right, can be just like any other genre of wrestling. It's just you got the deathmatch elements surrounding it. But to me, just maybe it shows the sicko side of me. It just adds that much more excitement to me.
Yeah, when I learned that the art of it is in the suffering, and it's not so much, let's see how much shit we can break and bleed everywhere, but the art is in the suffering. Like you mentioned Tremont, one of the best death matches that I had seen in a while was him and Matt Justice.
Mm.
And there was this big nasty wound on Tremont's shoulder, and the whole match, Justice is trying to dig this fork into his shoulder, and it is the most retching thing.
Yeah,
most heat that I've ever seen someone dump on someone in a death match. It's like this, oh my gosh! And then the girl I was with at the time, she's big into death match stuff. She likes violence and gore and all that stuff. Death matching was going to be second nature to her. That was some of our early dates. Was we would sit and drink pineapple wine and watch death match wrestling. But what we did was, it was just watching it, and then once I finally understood that the art was in the suffering as opposed to like smash, crash, bang, boom. And at a certain point, she was like, "They're just hitting each other to hit each other." And then when you would see it done right, and you would start to get your favorites, and I know she had a couple. I know Neil Diamond Cutter, and I love Neil.
I love him too. I need to get him back on too. I've had him on once.
Yeah, he's great. I love Neil. But she's starting to was getting her favorites, and I'd started to watch this a little bit more. So like, what is this that's intriguing to you? Like, I know what makes Terry Funk intriguing to me is that he's really fighting for his life every match. So let's see what if I can see what you see. And that's, I credit her probably more than I should for falling into deathmatch stuff, but at least I gave it the try. And then when I started doing it, and everybody's just great, and I was like, you know what, this is actually a pretty okay environment, so this is fine.
Oh yeah, I've nothing but love for the deathmatch community. They've given me quite a few great episodes that I know when I first started, I don't think I ever would have thought that in a million years that I'd be talking to some of these people. But speaking of other people, got two categories I like to round stuff off with here. First one's a bit of a name game where I name off some people and you give me some quick thoughts on them, and I try to theme it towards the guest as much as possible. And with the, having either been in or led some memorable groups in the area, I figured each of these people have either led or been in some pretty memorable groups in the history of professional wrestling.
Okay.
First one, I mentioned that I had a story about somebody that had a little bit of a tie-in with a former guest of mine. I recorded with former Ring of Honor six-man tag champ Dutch. And it was either right when I posted the episode or posted about having recorded with him on Twitter. Yes, I still call it Twitter. I'm not calling that shit X, but
no need to. We all know.
We all know what it is. But on my way home, I ended up getting an alert. So I was like, I get to a stoplight, I'll check. Because I didn't recognize the little picture that pops up. And when I check, I about dropped my phone because it was Bray Wyatt. And I had to immediately just message Dutch back. I'm like, because I wasn't aware at the time the connection those two had. I was like, you're friends with Bray Wyatt and you told me the whole story. I'm like, that explains so much right now. Is somebody of Bray Wyatt's caliber was liking anything on my show, even though, yes, it involved one of his friends. But enough of my story. For this first one, the late, great Bray Wyatt.
I think he was a pioneer. I think maybe not to the level of what a superstar Billy Graham was, to where he was really ahead of his time, but he was very creative. And I think, if there was a little more time to refine it and understand it to where he could really master the craft of what he was going for, I have no doubt in my mind he's going to go down as one of the best. Even though he was a short run, but absolutely masterful. I think he was an understood talent or a misunderstood talent quite often, but he spoke to a lot of people, and I really enjoyed him. I was a big fan of him. I was devastated. That was the same week Terry Funk passed away, so I was not having a good week anyway.
So yeah, I remember the week they both passed, and Bray Wyatt being not much younger than myself, and I was just like, that was really a holy shit moment for me. As I was like, God dang, somebody that close to my age going like this.
Yeah, it was crazy. I knew he wasn't old by any stretch, but that was crazy to get the news that day, and I was like, it's bad.
Yeah, it was definitely one of those where like you hear the news of it and then you're like, I gotta go check for myself. This doesn't sound real.
Yeah. There's so many, like, I remember early on there would always be like that weird telephone game at school where it's like, did you hear about everybody was driving to the show and Vince McMahon and 40 other wrestlers died in a car crash on the way to Tahlequah, Oklahoma? And it's like, oh, no way. And then you don't think wrestling's on that night and everybody's fine.
Yeah.
So I'm conditioned to go, and not until I see it. So
yeah. Before I see it from a reputable source, I'm like, But then when you do, you're like, oh shit.
Yeah.
For sure. Next up, guy that another member, well, dang. Now that I think about it, 2/3 of the founding members of this group have now passed. But the one that is still with us, Big Sexy Kevin Nash.
Big Kev. I love how unserious Big Kev is. Watching back to all the NWO stuff, did not give one shit. He was making a lot of fun doing it with his friend. And that's, they sit there and say that you can either make friends or you can make money, but you can't watch him and Hall and say he wasn't doing both. Like they were
Yeah.
both having a great um Nash was always so cool. Same with Hall. Like, and it's tough with Nash to where it's like you can't talk about him and not have Razor in the discussion because they were Laurel and Hardy. Like they ran together.
Yeah.
Uh, but no, Kevin, I've always loved all of his stuff. Wolfpack, NWO. Trying to find his roots with Diesel. Yeah, Nash is great. He's always been entertaining. Just to see him screw off and go, I can because I'm big and no one's really going to tell me I can't.
Yeah. I do love when you can definitely sense that mentality out of him.
Yeah,
It adds something just totally entertaining. Now, next up, man, it is funny thinking back that the guys that ran DX are basically now running WWE. One of those being the next guy on this name game category, Triple H.
big fan of his. I've always liked his stuff. It's always been solid. It's always been dependable. There's a lot of people can make the argument that he never was the guy, and it's hard to say that he wasn't. I mean, I believe that he was, but you knew that he was going to work with the guy that makes the money, and that in itself is a very key player. And then I mean, 13 times world champion. I think it's safe to say that he's fine. Early on, I tried to pattern a lot of my promo stuff off of him, and then I realized that's not necessarily me, but it is a good foundation for people that are starting to try and develop a cadence and to try and to develop, how to get your message across. Him and Arn Anderson, both great, solid base work promos. But yeah, I think he was one of the icons heading into the 2000s. I think he's got all the tools, and I mean he's just a foundation. That's really all that you can say.
Oh yeah, and you actually just kind of brought up the last guy on this list, the guy with probably the cleanest looking spine buster I've ever seen in anybody in wrestling. The Enforcer, Arn Anderson.
I love Arn. He is so fundamentally sound, like all of his stuff was, and even now he's got such a sharp mind. Every once in a while, when I get to do some stuff where I'm around and I can kind of hover around in a room where he's at, I love to listen to what he has to say because he just very, it's very dry, but he pokes holes in the dumb shit that we do, and he's and you do that why? And it's okay, you're right, you got it, yeah, no, and I just try to absorb as much knowledge as I can, and same with his promos. You look back at it, and it all follows the same formula, but it always gets the message across, and you always get excited for when the Enforcer is going to do something, or you hope that he's about to get punched in the face.
Oh yeah,
he does the business that he needs to, and sure. I think young upcoming guys. I know we're in a way different era. When I came up, I was near the Harley race guys. So it was, well, Harley race wouldn't do this. Harley wouldn't do this. Harley says this. Harley says that. And so we had the luxury of a very fundamental champion who had proven to have made money all across the world as kind of a building block. Now there's not so much of that because there's not so many of those guys around anymore. But we still have the luxury of tapes. We still have the luxury of video. I mean, there's not a tape trading business anymore. You can put it all online. And I mean, this can be watched immediately. There's no 6 to 8 weeks distro time. There's no, you got to go onto the black web and order this stuff. You can get Arn Anderson stuff now. And that's a solid foundation to learn how to be.
For sure. Like I've made it known that the people and the characters that I gravitate towards are those intense personas that they just ooze it, for the lack of a better term. And the thing I always loved about Arn, and I mean I still do, watching some of the stuff from Horseman days and stuff, is that man oozed intensity without really even having to raise his voice.
Yeah, no, he kind of looked like a disappointed dad all the time. And
Yeah.
he looked like he was going to fight you, and he was built like he could win it. Like it wasn't a pretty body on him. Like he was never chiseled. He never had long flowing hair. It was always thin. He was always stout, but he always looked like he could punch you and take about three of them before he'd punch you. Uh, that's what wrestling is, and it's
Oh
just
yeah.
like that's always been my style. I really like that older stuff.
Oh, for sure.
And then yeah, I mean, like I said, 17 times now, Terry Funk. Love Terry. Arn was always great. Big Jake Roberts fan. Like,
Oh yeah.
I mean, and Jake was never built like. I know we're talking about Arn, but I'm going to take a detour on Jake Roberts here.
Yeah.
Jake was never built to look like an athletic specimen. He kind of looked like that sleazy character in the back alley that you never really fucked with, and he could move. You know,
Oh,
you watch some of his stuff. He's doing just drop down drills for no reason. 6'7" guys should be doing, but there he is moving around with the best of them at 250 pounds and that tall. I'm like, you don't. What are you doing? But he could do it. But he was built like he could mess you up. And
oh yeah.
Arn, and again, 18th time Terry. Like that's why this is my bread. But like you can even look at Magnum TA. We'll throw out a random one there. It's just that's the style, and I think Arn is pretty responsible for a lot of it.
Oh yeah. No, and Ad oh, wasn't really on my list for this category because he was never really a part of a group. But when talking about intense personas, and we've talked about a few right now, but one guy that definitely growing up scared the ever loving shit out of me, but looking back and watching his stuff, I'm like, love him. Bruiser Brody.
Yes,
Love watching his stuff back.
Bruiser convinced you 7 minutes at a time that he's a lunatic and he will actually physically harm you and end your life should you look at him the wrong way. Him and Abdullah, when they would do their stuff, it was the craziest 5 minutes on the show. Everybody's bleeding. Someone's got a hook in their head. Someone's got a fork sticking out of their back. It was insanity.
Yeah.
And it was, you believed him because
Oh, yeah.
even if he only believed it 5 minutes at a time, you were going to believe it too. And Brody was great.
Oh yeah. One of my all-time favorites. Now, talking about my other category, my random questions were some wrestling related, some not, some nothing to do with anything we talked about, but this one, you bring up, crazy moments. What is the craziest in-ring moment for you? I can think of a couple that might fit.
Other than getting stabbed in the eye?
That was one of them.
So let's see. Outside of that, second place seems kind of distant. I would say all the balcony dives, throwing guys fully loaded. Thinking at Magnum, I've done a lot of crazy things over at Magnum, but as far as like, I suppose the night or the week after I got stabbed in the face and then my eye exploded everywhere. We really don't talk about that one too much.
You know what? I don't even think I've heard about that one.
Okay, so travel back in time here, folks. Cody Rice stabbed me in the eye with a screwdriver. Complete accident. It wasn't, and it didn't permeate my eye. That's not why this one's falling apart. He stabbed me over here. Flathead went in right beside my eye and my skull. I almost got a free lobotomy. We were pretty close to it, but fortunately, all it did was cut a little muscle, and that's why I was running around with the eye patch. So that's why you watch me run around with an eye patch then, and not so much now. So now that we got that part out of the way, the next week, because after I talked to a doctor when I got back to Omaha, they gave me all these parameters, and then I went, he didn't say I couldn't wrestle. And they're like, well, no, we didn't say that. And I was, so can I? And so I patched it up, and I put a little extra padding on it because I got my eye, I got my face cut into. I'm like, we'll put some gauze on it and we'll get an eye patch on it. We'll be fine, and everything should be okay. Stuff like that. There's your eye itself doesn't get a lot of blood to it. I've learned a lot from my eyes falling apart on me. Your eye itself doesn't get a lot of blood to it, but the muscles still do, and you still got a lot of vessels and veins running through your skull. So when you've now created a pocket, your body starts to do this thing where it creates shit to fill voids. And so it was starting to create and collect blood to fill the void to keep the pressure up still. And so I was, okay, we're going to do this 6-man tag. It was Guns and Beer against Mikey Danger, not a very well-known name, and that's okay. Jason Strife, and then Tony Cortez was in it. So it was Bulletproof, I believe is what they were at the time. And whatever, I'm in there rocking and rolling, and I turn right into Mikey, and I take the biggest sucker punch in my eye that just got stabbed a week ago. And brother, it shot up my forehead, down my chest. It was in my beard. My eye pretty much just exploded right there. Not the eye itself, everything that was
collected. Everything that was.
Yeah, and so all that muscle work where I was trying to not stimulate my eye, completely undone. Because now this eye is rolling around because there's no muscle to control it. And I'm like, this is fucking terrible. So, pardon my French, but I was like, this is terrible. And so we escort me out of the match. And after quick diagnostics, when everything turns out it's okay, I try and come back and everyone's genuinely concerned because now I'm bleeding everywhere. And that's like, I probably could have stayed back because now the wind has been pulled out of this room because they thought that they watched my eye just rip open like a grape. That one was crazy. I don't know. The deathmatch stuff has been kind of wild when I got to do that. Nothing too dangerous with that, which is crazy. That's a wild sentence. Nothing too dangerous.
Yeah.
Deathmatch. Yeah. I mean, I guess that's really got to be it, is getting stabbed.
Yeah, that would fit. Now, kind of leaning into the deathmatch stuff, because I've asked pretty much anybody that's even dabbled in death matches this question. What is a weapon you would like to avoid being used on you if you had the choice?
Okay, so I'll pick this name up here later, but I'm going to drop it. Tommy Dreamer, and I'll stand by his advice because he's bled everywhere. The two pieces of the two things that he said he'll never mess with are glass and fire, because you can't control either of them.
Yeah.
Because glass will spray, and fire, it's going to do what it wants. It burns off energy, and if you give it carbon, it will cook you. So those two alone, I stay away from. I told myself I wouldn't do barbed wire, but then I heard Terry Funk fan, 19th reference. I seen his stuff with Sabu and how orchestrated that was, and how much it made so much sense between those two maniacs. And I was like, well, it looks like barbed wire's not so awful, as long as my hair's not terribly long, right? And so I'm not opposed to barbed wire, but glass, I've taken one light tube and that was okay. I'm not against the light tube thing. The spooky dust thing, I'm still like, I just very much hold my breath on it and try and circumvent whatever I can. But pains of that and fire, that's just, I won't. Because if the guy that's gone and done this everywhere says those are the two things he won't touch, I have absolutely no business dealing with them.
No, I get you there. It's funny hearing you talk about that, because my first ever death match that I ever got to watch in person was at Revolver, involving Jake Christ and Joel Bateman, and the ending of it involved both.
Of course.
Because they took like 4 folding chairs, bridged 2 panes of glass on it, and then Bobby Olson comes in, and I see him pull out a thing of lighter fluid and then lit the glass on fire.
Yep. I would probably tap before we got to that point. I would not We're not falling in that. None of that sounds awesome.
Yeah.
Those are two things that you can't control, and you're going to fall into both. And so I'm just, yeah, I think I would be done. You,
Yeah.
I would openly say I quit. I will walk away.
Yep. No, I wouldn't blame you one damn bit. All right. Now, with the name of a show like I have, I feel like I have to ask this one. Favorite drink, alcoholic or otherwise, because like I said, I've had people on that for one reason or another don't drink, so I always try to tell people just because it says drinking at Moe's does not mean that it has to be alcoholic.
Right. So anybody that sees me roll into a show, I have a Celsius in my hand. I live and die by the brand. I'm endorsed by them. I think just by a technicality because they haven't checked the paperwork. But 15 years ago, I went and got an endorsement deal with them, and they've been great. I'll tweet at them every once in a while and get something new. But that is going to be my poison of choice. I do like Bum Energy. They're starting to grow on me, but Celsius is really my poison. They have a cola, they have a cherry cola, an orange, lemon lime. I will live and die by those. Those are my favorites. Orange is usually what I have in my hand because that's what everybody has. But when it comes to an adult beverage, a libation of that sort, I am a big fan of a whiskey sour over New York or over Boston.
Okay.
So a New York sour over Boston, to where it's got it's a whiskey sour with a little bit of red wine layered over the top, and then a shook up egg white is what the over Boston is. So it gives it a nice frothy taste to it. You don't actually taste egg. Like it gives it a little bit more body, and then you get 5 grams of protein with it because it's an egg white. So like I can justify it in the end of it, where it's like, oh, it's like a protein shake, but I feel a little funny afterwards. It's giggle water. But I don't run into too many bars other than Proof out in Omaha, where they'll do a New York sour over Boston. And they're the ones that even introduced me to the over Boston concept, because I just hopped into this whiskey bar because I'm not saying I'm above beer, but if I have a choice, I'll spend a few extra bucks and have a drink that's mixed and I enjoy it.
Yeah.
I know it makes the party end shorter because the money doesn't go as far, but that's okay. And so I hopped in over there one night and I was looking through the menu and I was like, this New York sour sounds pretty good. I'm not a big red wine fan, but it's got monkey shoulder in it, so it should be okay. And so I'm having that. And like, do you want that over Boston? I was like, I have no idea what an over Boston is. They're like, oh, let's learn you. And so they brought me back with this foam on the top of it. And I was like, this is delicious. They're like, this is shook up egg white. Oh, well, take me to Boston. Let's keep doing this. Another flight. Hey, it's a round trip thing. You can't just take me to Boston and not bring me back home. Then I'm stranded. So let's get a second one going. Careful with that language. That's how alcoholics get in trouble.
I know, right?
Yeah, it's like, well, you can't just take me on one road. You got to bring me back. So it's got to be a round trip. You got to book 2 tickets. What are you doing? So, but yeah, that's not many people do it. Otherwise, if I can just get a whiskey, if it can be neat or a double, I'm fine with that too. I remember, so I know I look a little bit like him right now, Silas Young. When I finally got to wrestle him in Oklahoma, I've been chasing this match for 10 years and I finally got to do it. And now he's like one of the coolest dudes. After our match in Oklahoma, I dropped probably 30 pounds to make sure that I could hang with him, right? Because I was thinking Ring of Honor, shit, we're going to go. So I was dropping as much weight as I could so we could hang. And we had, 20 minutes plus, and we were killing it. We had a great time. Come back, him and I cutting up, having a good time. And in Oklahoma, I don't know if too many people know this, but they have some of the best concessions in the South. So this company, Wrestling for a Cause, shout out to Tim and Tiffany. They're great. The concessions down there, they have pulled pork nachos.
Ooh,
and
right up my damn alley.
You can get shredded chicken nachos, and it's all done up just the way you would nachos. You can get your pico, you can get your jalapenos, you can get anything else. You can get the salad thrown on it, but you can get it all with pulled pork. And you can do it with chicken. And then recently, within the last couple of years, they added a baked potato bar.
Oh my God.
Concessions. Yeah, where it's like we got all these baked potatoes. You want to throw some chili and chicken on it? Go for it. And it's an entirely different game down there when it comes to concessions. I would love for that trend to migrate north.
Oh, totally. Dude.
It's like, yeah, no, hot dogs and pizza are super cool, but have you had Southern comfort food while you watched wrestling? Oh my god!
Oh my god! Yeah.
So back to what I was originally starting with here. Silas and I are sitting here talking afterwards, and we take a look, and they serve it in the to-go containers. And I had chicken nachos, and he had chicken nachos, and so we were sitting there just eating our nachos, and Wesley Crane comes up, and he's like, "Hey, so like since this is a big night," he hands me this bottle of Walking Dead whiskey. They made their own, like Walking Dead made their own, and they were just individual bottles, and he just got me one.
Yeah.
And well, this is pretty cool. And then Silas goes, "What are you pussies sitting here for? We need to go drink whiskey in a parking lot." So that night, I'm sitting here taking shots and eating nachos with Silas Young in a church parking lot where the cameras can't catch us with my buddy Wes. And it's just like, I was like, this is everything I've for years. This is so awesome. Because it's like, we're just sitting there just eating nachos, shooting whiskey with the guy where I was like, God, I've been wanting this match for 10 years and we just could never line it up. And so it finally happened and we just cutting up, having a good time. And now every time I see him, you know, it's hey Duke, you know, what's going on, Dookie? And it's I'm like, oh, God, you have no idea how cool it is just to have one of your indie guys that you looked up to just is like he knows you by name now.
Oh man, yeah, that's a feeling I can only imagine. I know I've been lucky enough to have quite the list from Ring of Honor, including Kerry Silken. I actually had him on like right around the time Tony Khan bought Ring of Honor. But I do enjoy a good I like with whiskey Coke with a grenadine. It basically tastes like a Jack and Cherry Coke.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's
delicious.
Almost like a drunk Shirley Temple.
Basically.
Roy Rogers, I should say. Shirley Temple's with 7-Up, I think.
Yeah, I'm one to say so, yeah. But yeah, as far as that, but I mean, yeah, everybody knows I'm a bit of a beer drinker. Lord knows my gut probably shows it quite a bit.
If I go for beer, I apparently just want to be mean to myself because I like Guinness. I like a beer that might fight me a little bit. But I don't like IPAs or any of that kind of stuff. But I will get down on a Guinness, you know, classic. I'm all for it. I like to chew it a little.
I actually I've been drinking some of the stuff I brought back with me from Colorado, some Lagerado.
Okay,
it's been delicious. Lord knows I'm going to run out of it here soon, so enjoy it while I can. But,
smooth is dangerous.
Yeah. But I mean, I do got to say, and I'm disappointed they don't sell this anywhere closer to me than like I think Kansas City. But Stone Cold's Broken Skull American Lager, freaking delicious. And the Stone Cold guy in me, I had to save the damn can. I had to save one of them.
Oh, absolutely.
Stone Cold's got his own freaking section in my collectibles behind me, and I don't. Well, I put this in the Stone Cold section, but WWE used to have that restaurant in Times Square. I still got my glass from there.
Nice.
But on to the last couple of questions I got here. First one, best advice you have for anybody wanting to get into wrestling?
Best advice. It hurts. Yeah. And then I mean that half joking, but it does. There's a lot, not just physically, because I mean you're at war with gravity, and just a heads up, guys, gravity always goes over. You will lose the fight from throwing your body at the ground. Things will hurt. You're going to be tested emotionally. You're going to be tested mentally. There's going to be friendships that you lose for it. There's going to be events that you miss. I don't talk about it a lot. I think this is probably the first time I've ever said anything. My dad passed away on the way to a show. I was in Oklahoma and he was in hospice. So my last words to him were over a phone call. And then I stopped at a Casey's and my mom let me know that he had passed. So you'll miss important shit. I haven't watched one of my cousins get married. I mean, even though they've already moved on to their second marriages, but hey, I missed those ones too. So I've missed their first marriage and their second marriage. Um, Birthdays. There's special days that you're going to be on the road. My daughter Shaylin, the youngest, she's 2 now. Her first birthday was spent on the way to Thief River Falls, and her first birthday cake was Cinnabon because I had signed up for a show the year before. Didn't know my daughter was being born that day. We weren't going to miss it, and she said, "You know what? We're going to make it work." And there's sacrifices, and you get to live with some of this kind of stuff, and it's things that you can't take back. So half-heartedly, I joke and say, "Yeah, it's going to hurt. Just get ready." But it's going to be more than just your body. It's not going to be just where you sit up and everything's a little tight, or your hips a little goofy, or you wonder what this bruise is from, or you got to try and figure out what all these marks are from. You're going to remember a lot of shit that you missed. You're going to miss a lot of shit that you don't remember. So just if you're going to do it, be in it and understand completely that there's a lot of sacrifices that isn't just falling down.
Good advice. Now, last but not least here, with the winding the career down, is there anything you want to say to the fans that'll be listening to this episode? Anything that you want to leave with them?
The only thing I can really say is thank you. You guys, as much as I could sign up and message every promoter and go fall down wherever, and I could get really good at falling down, and I could, become a utility player in a company, and I could agent, I could ref, I could start my own promotion. None of it's possible without fans being there, and any kind of support. With every Guns and Beer shirt that was ever bought, every Snake Pit shirt, every one of just my personal that's been bought, every message to keep going, every ticket where you wanted to go see me, every thing that you did to make this possible, for it to make sense for me to keep going. All I can say is thank you. You afforded a guy who, where I was born, we don't get these opportunities. Yeah, but because you guys believed and I kept pushing, I get to say things like my son was 3 feet from Sting and neither of them gave a shit about the other one. I can say that I have souvenirs from David Arquette, guys that I watched in movies because we were in locker rooms together, because we were wrestling on the same shows. I can say that I can text guys that I should never had any business with. There's people that I've met that there's no reason I should have, but I do because pro wrestling. I have stories, I have memories that not all the head trauma is taken away. It's afforded me my family. If it wasn't for wrestling, I wouldn't have my kids. I wouldn't have met the people that I have. I wouldn't have a lot of the things that I do. But even with all of my perseverance and hard work, if no one bought a ticket or supported me, it would have been pointless. I would have been sitting in a car going for wherever to go fall down in an armory and go home, and that would be it. But fans made it possible. So everyone that buys tickets, we know and we appreciate it. Everyone that buys a shirt, we don't forget you. You make it all possible, and I can't thank you enough for affording me 16 years, 17 at the end of December, of memories. And it's really been what has changed the course of my life. And all I can say is thank you, and I can't say it enough.
Definitely. Now, one thing before we go, where can people find you social media wise so they can follow along with this last run?
So I am awful at Twitter and Instagram, but you'll find it's all at Copperhead Duke. Facebook, I do a little bit more. It'll be Duke Cornell. I'm pretty open to accept whoever to follow me or whatever. I closed down my OnlyFans, so I don't have anything for you guys there. I guess if you want nudes, just message me directly. We'll figure it out. Um, I don't have any gift registries or anything that you can visit me on. Uh, no wish lists, nothing like that. No spicy links. That's it.
All right,
Follow me on the big three.
definitely get all that in the description. Well, before we go, I do want to, to you, I know I've said, a little while ago, you have meant a good deal to me through being a good friend through all these years since I met you coming back from the military and really making me feel like there was a group outside of the military that I felt like I belonged to some degree in. You definitely played a good deal into that, so thank you.
Thank you.
Ugh, now my issue with this fucking button. Try to